All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you a few things. I'm going to show you how to make this couch and this bed look less blocky and more natural and come to life a little bit more. I'm also going to show you how to create like a cylinder in perspective or circle, along with text. Like if you wanted to write something in your space, right? How would you do that? So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to create a cylinder, right? So I'm going to show you two versions. I'm going to show you as if it's laying on the ground and if it's standing up, right? So if it's laying on its side on the ground, you really would just draw a circle, right? And draw your circle wherever you want it to be. And then from there, you're going to use your ruler, line up your ruler with the vanishing point, and kind of slide the ruler like a clock all the way till it hits the edge of that circle. And then you're going to draw it, and that's where your guideline's going to go. And then you're going to do it on the other side too. So I'm going to just keep rotating this like a clock, right? Until it hits the edge of the other side of the circle. And that would be the other side of that cylinder. And then if this is, you're gonna almost like copy whatever's happening here. So if this is kind of like a backward C, it's gonna look like a backward C on this side too, right? So that would be like a cylinder in perspective, as if it's like laying on the ground. You might make a pillow look like that, right? If we were gonna put it into context of like a bedroom. Now, it would look different if it was going in the other direction, right? Because now that circle is going to be in perspective. So in order to understand what that circle is going to look like in perspective, you have to draw a cube first. So let's say I wanted to put a cylinder shape be over here, okay? Maybe that's going to be like a table near my, my couch, okay? So I'm going to first start by drawing out a cube in perspective, right? So that's a little bit off. If this is vertical, this is going to be vertical. And if this is horizontal, this is also going to be horizontal. Okay. So now you have, oops, sorry for the shakiness. You have this cylinder. So the circle is now going to take the shape of, you're going to use the top of this cube as a guideline to create what that circle would turn into. It would turn into like an ellipse, right? So I'm going to just kind of like place that circle within this space, right? So that's what the circle would look like in perspective from that point. So really, once you have that, you can go ahead and kind of erase everything else around it. Maybe not the bottom, because we're going to use that to create the bottom of this. And then again, take your ruler and pull it out all the way to the end of the top of that oval. I'm going to pull down. That would be the side of that cylinder. And then I'm going to do it on the other side. Okay. And then I'm going to just kind of follow the direction of the bottom of this cube to create the bottom of the cylinder. And that's what a cylinder would look like in perspective at that point. All right, so you can make that into a table. If you wanted the table to have 4 legs, you would just kind of follow along with where those points would be on the cube, right? So there would be another point here. Maybe then I would erase this, right? And now it looks like a table. Now, if you wanted the table to be like wood and not glass, like you can see through it, it would then look something like this. Okay. So let's make this couch come to life a little bit more and the bed, right? So last week when we were at school, I talked about kind of erasing some of these hard edges and rounding them out a little bit, right? And creating more of like what we call an implied line. An implied line is a broken line. So I could just add in subtle lines like this. Okay. And that creates more of a softness to it. And then I can erase the bottom of this and add like squigglies like this, right? And then little lines, like implied lines coming up from that point, right? To create the folds of the fabric in the bed, right? And then you can start adding in like your pillows. Okay, put little indentations in that. Maybe you have a blanket on your bed. So if you're doing stuff like this, remember these lines are coming from the vanishing point. Okay. Maybe you have like a pretty headboard. Now, if I'm going to do something like, I probably would look up something online and copy it. I'm kind of doing this from my head right now, but I think it would be more believable if I did it from something I found. Right? And now that's becoming more of a bed. And same with the couch, right? So I created these two cubes. I created this, or rectangular cubes. One that's sitting on the ground, and then I stacked one on top of it. So I'm going to go in and kind of erase lines that we don't need anymore, right? And I'm also going to add in what will be like the armrests, right? And then I would do almost the same as I did to the bed. I would kind of round out the edges a little bit, right? Maybe add in a center pillow here. Have that come down this way. Maybe I'd add in the pillows that you'd sit on. Okay. You can also start adding in like other pillows. Like maybe you're gonna have a pillow on the couch. Usually I've got pillows on my couch. Maybe we're only gonna see part of the pillow on the other side. I do usually on my couch drape a blanket, especially in the winter, over the top of the couch. So you can add something like that. Right? See, now that line looks funny. It should be going to the vanishing point. I'm not having it go to the vanishing. That's better. Okay. Sometimes couches have like fabric that's like on the bottom. So you can almost do like what you did to the bed. Right? You could add feet. That's how I'd make stuff kind of come alive a little bit more. Excuse me. You could also add like lights. Like if you wanted to have like some sort of a light hanging, you could say like, okay, maybe I want to create some sort of a chandelier-ish thing. What I would do is start by drawing a rectangle or a cube so that you could make sure you have a good idea of what we're looking at here, right? So from this angle, if this were a light, which there are square lights now, you could make something like this. Would be cool, actually. You could see that if this was a chandelier or some sort of a square light, or you can make it into a round cylinder shaped light. I know it's like fabric lights are in. I have one like that in my hallway, where it's like all fabric, kind of looks something like this, right? And then the lights in the center here. You could do something like that, right? But if you wanted to make this into a chandelier of some sort, then you could just understand that you would see most of the bottom of it, right? So maybe I was going to draw 4 lights coming up. You have to understand that you would see a lot of the bottom of this light. Right, so you're just using the square as a guideline to help you kind of understand what it is you're seeing. So we're seeing the bottom. Maybe I have like little candles on it or something. Right, if this was in a different place, I maybe wouldn't see the bottom of it, or I would be seeing more of something else. Right, so then I can go ahead and kind of erase all this stuff around there. The last thing I wanted to show you was putting lettering in perspectives. Excuse me. Let's say I wanted to create a poster that was like a cougar poster. Okay, and maybe it had like a paw on it, and then it said CHS up here, right? On the back wall, it would look normal. It would look exactly like what you see here. But if I wanted to put that into perspective, it would be a little bit different. I would start by drawing out the poster, right? So your horizontal lines go to the vanishing point. And then if you're drawing the paw in perspective, I would start by drawing a square in perspective, and then place the cougar paw inside of that, right? So it might look something like that in perspective. And then the CHS, you would do the same thing. Right? And I would place my letters inside of there. So just really quickly, I'm going to make it bigger here, but if I were going to do each letter, I'm going to do separate letters, actually. Let's say I put I'm going to do an E or an H. So an H has 2 vertical lines, right? So those would stay vertical, right? But then the horizontal line in the center would go to the vanishing point, right? And that's what an H would look like in perspective, right? I'm going to draw another cube here. Let's take a look at an A, right? So an A has a center point, the top of the letter. So in order to find the center point, I would want to do a crisscross with my ruler. I'm not using my ruler for just the demonstration purposes, so you can see what I'm doing here. And if I draw a vertical line straight through, this would be the center of that square in perspective. So then what I could do is from that point, connect it to the end point of this rectangle and the other side too, right? And then my horizontal of the A would go to the vanishing point, right? And if I were going to do like some sort of a rounder shape, right? Like a C or an S, you would want to find the center point of all of these rectangles. And really base your letter off of that, because you don't want it going on a slanted. You want it kind of looking like it's straight. So with the C, I would want to make sure that the side of the C stays straight up against this side of the square or rectangle, right? And that's what the C would look like in perspective. So when I'm placing that here, I would kind of want to use those same rules that I just went over. Making sure it stays vertical. Excuse me. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to try and make a video on making stairs and some of the extra credit stuff that I walked you through last week. My video will stop. Wow.